Welcome to the Root of All Broth. I'm Kathleen Hill, and this is the show where we talk about the inspirations behind the foods that we cook. I hope you all had a very happy St. Patrick's Day. I know that we did. And out there on our Instagram, I put a recipe for corned beef and cabbage. So if you haven't gone over to our Instagram yet, go ahead and go over there and take a look at all of our pictures and recipes that we provide. But today our inspiration is leftovers. So go on over to the fridge, grab that corned beef because we're about to make hash. Let's get cooking. For this recipe, all you're going to need is your leftover corned beef, a couple of medium-sized potatoes, it's about a pound of potatoes, and a couple of yellow onions. I'm going to trim the fat off of this corned beef to use to cook the onions in, and we'll do that in just a minute. Okay, to get started, I took the 2 potatoes and I peeled them, and I've got them boiling on the back of the stove, and I'm going to have those boiling for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to cube those. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and grab my fat off of my corned beef here. So I'm just going to use my knife here, choke pretty far up on it to get some control, and just cut off this fat to use to cook the onions in. So you see I got a good amount there, and then I've got a little bit over here. Great. All right, and this will all go in my skillet so I can cook those onions. Okay, so I have chopped my 2 onions. They are yellow onions, so they're very small, so you could use 1 medium-sized yellow onion or 2 small yellow onions like that. And now I'm going to be chopping my corned beef. So you can see I'm kind of cubing it here. Already cut that fat off. And then we're just gonna chop it down. Okay guys, like you can see our fat is really rendering really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and add our 2 small yellow onions. I'm going to cook this. I did end up adding a potato to our water, so we have 3 potatoes because I wanted to use all of our leftovers for this recipe. We have about 2 cups of chopped corned beef there. I'm going to go ahead and just cook this onion in this fat that we've rendered from the corned beef. It smells wonderful in here, guys. Now this corned beef was spiced, of course, with all the great spices that you use on corned beef: black pepper, coriander, mustard seeds. So it's got some spice, but we will end up spicing again. Okay, we removed our potatoes from the water, and you can see I've already chopped some there. And we're just making these big chunks. This potato, it is hot, so be careful when you get these out. You don't want your potatoes to be too soft, or then you won't be able to actually cube them. So make sure that when you pull them out of the water, they're not, you can kind of feel them as you're cooking them. And if they are too, if you can put your fork through them, that's great. But you don't want it so soft where it's starting to crumble in the water. And then we'll just continue to chop this, and then we'll put them in with our other potatoes, and we'll get cooking over there on the stove with the onions. Okay, we're going to go ahead and salt our onions. We need a good bit of salt. And we're going to add our corned beef. Now I have this on high. That's 2 cups of corned beef. And to that, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of chicken stock. Add a little moisture back in there. Now we're going to add our potatoes, which we definitely will need a salt and pepper. Now you want to start off with a wooden spoon, but I'm going to switch to a spatula here in just a moment. Because what we want to do is we want these potatoes to brown, so we're going to let them kind of sit. If you watch my cowboy potato video, you'll see we can kind of let them sit and get brown on one side, and then we'll flip them. So I'm going to kind of smash them down here. You can even smash them a little bit. Some people like their hash almost like mashed potatoes, but I'm just going to do mine like this. I've got it on high right now. Now to this, I'm going to add some salt. Right now I'm just using regular table salt. And definitely we're going to add some pepper. I'm going to let this sit. I'm going to let this cook till it gets some brown on one side of the potatoes, and then I'm going to flip it. Okay, it's been 4 minutes, and we just left it alone. We're going to flip it. You can see it's nice and brown. Now, some people like to leave these kind of looking like a pie. I don't want to do my hash that way. Mine's more like hash brown. So we'll just flip this and kind of let it sit again on the other side so the other side gets nice and brown. I am using a non-stick skillet, so of course I'm using my plastic spatula. You don't want to scratch up your pan. Now we're going to leave it for a few more minutes and then we'll be done. And we're going to season it one last time. Okay, now that we're on our last turn, we're going to add some butter to this. It's about 2 tablespoons of butter. It's going to add a little moisture to it, but it's also going to add some flavor. Everybody loves butter. I'm still leaving it to sit, and then when we turn it, then we'll mix it all together. Ooh, isn't that looking good? And it smells wonderful. Okay, we're going to pepper this side as well. Just a good coating of black pepper. We have about a couple more minutes, and then we will be done. We'll mix it all up and add our final spices. Okay, we're ready to turn this over. Look at the browning. How gorgeous is this, guys? And our hash is almost complete. Onions, the potatoes. Look at that. Look at that brown. We're going to add a little more salt. Just keep tasting, guys, as you go. Now we're ready to plate it up. And here we have it, corned beef hash. Remember, look at how much meat you have, chop it up, and then measure your potatoes by how much meat you have. We ended up using 3 small potatoes to get 2 cups of meat. And then to top it, I've got our wonderful hot cabbage slaw. It's mustard and jalapeno and cabbage. So I'm gonna put that right on top just to add a little heat. You don't have to do this, but if you want this recipe, go on out to the channel and find our hot slaw. And there you go, guys. This is just going to add a little bit of that sauerkraut and German feel. So there you go. Corned beef and cabbage turned into a wonderful corned beef hash. I hope you enjoyed our episode today. I hope you come by the channel. If you haven't subscribed, hit that button and subscribe. Smack that like button if you love hash. And we'll see you real soon.